Well, let's get some analysis now with Rina Shah in Washington. She's a political analyst and current affairs commentator. Good to have you back with us, Rina. Now, many Republicans had billed these midterms as a referendum on Joe Biden's presidency, but the Democrats really have made some surprising gains in some of those races. Has the Democrats fared better than expected?
Well, good morning to you. Waking up in Washington, D.C. this morning was certainly an interesting feel for many a political insider like me. Democrats defied expectations last night. Certainly no red wave, no tsunami of any sort. I wouldn't even say it was a ripple. This was a moment in which we can say that this was actually a rebuke of Donald Trump's party. Very much he looms over this party and has a great impact on its candidates, as we saw last night. A great many of them are out there behaving just as he did while he was in the presidency and in the aftermath of him losing the 2020 election. What we know right now is that there have been some interesting gains. According to Politico, as of this just 3 hours ago, as of 3:20 this morning, Democrats have held New Hampshire and they've flipped Pennsylvania. Now, if the Republicans hold Wisconsin, they'll need to flip two of the three remaining toss-up races to win the majority. And those two of the three could be Arizona, Nevada, Georgia. What a night.
Yeah, sure. And of course, the results are also nail-biting, Rina. But Dr Mehmet Oz's defeat in Pennsylvania is one example of a Trump-endorsed candidate failing to get over the line. What do you make of the Trump effect at these midterms? Is he losing his influence among voters?
I would draw a direct line from the loss of Dr. Mehmet Oz to what leader Mitch McConnell said just a few months ago, is that Republicans are suffering from poor candidate quality. Dr. Oz was not a good candidate. He had residency issues. At first timer, of course, Donald Trump was as well, but that doesn't work for everyone. Fetterman was beloved in a way that was going to be hard no matter what to push back on. He's the current lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. If you watched how he campaigned despite having a stroke, he spoke directly to social media followers and to his constituents in parts of Pennsylvania that mattered. Places like Pittsburgh. He dressed like them, he talked like them, he was one of them. He's been part of the Pennsylvania fabric for a very long time, and I think he was rewarded by his constituents for that. Now, jumping to Georgia for a moment, you see Warnock and Walker very neck and neck. I saw something very interesting at play happen in Georgia this time. It's that Republicans were, of course, quite good at keeping control if you look at races throughout the state of Georgia, because the Republican brand is strong there. But they employed a lot of disinformation about Raphael Warnock, a first term senator who was able to make it up there to represent Georgians. The race should not be this close, but what Republicans did was put him on the same plane as Herschel Walker, former sports icon, saying that he had domestic issues as well and was also a poor candidate. That is simply not true in the same vein. That's fact, not opinion. But again, the race is very close there. Now, if you look at the House, there's also some interesting things going on. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who will not be returning to Congress in January, she went out and campaigned for two Democratic women who were in pretty interesting races. Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. Those were two very important races for Democrats, and those two Democratic women were able to pull off those races. And again, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, still a Republican, went out to campaign for them.
And based on these preliminary results, what outcome are you expecting? We heard there from our correspondent that many analysts are saying that the Republicans are on track to retake the House of Representatives, but the Senate really could go either way at this point. Do you think the Democrats might be able to hold on to the Senate?
I do think Democrats may be able to hold on to the Senate, but I do think it's very interesting what's played out so far in the House. Of course, we have to wait for every vote to be counted, and as many of us had expected, we would not have results on election night. This is a place, the United States, where states matter, and each state has a different way of doing things. You know, early mail-in ballots are very important here. Throughout the pandemic, people took advantage of the ability to vote early and by mail. I believe that's a good thing for democracy. I want a democracy where more of my fellow Americans participate. Anything that happens, that allows them to participate at greater levels, of course, legally, is a good thing. But again, each state having their own way of doing things complicates things. I want to make one note about the House, though. I do think this is also a moment in which we can say Republicans need to wake up and smell the morning coffee. It seems as if voters throughout the country and in very important pockets are not accepting what Republicans are putting out there, and that comes to abortion. So, reproductive rights. American women are not a monolith. You cannot assume that all Republican women were ready to cede bodily autonomy to the state. And that is a really big thing that I think mattered here. Also, Leader Kevin McCarthy in line to become Speaker if Republicans take the House. I think he's quite weak on leadership. He hasn't really talked much about what he would do to fix the economy. Everything is about grievance politics in the current Republican Party.
Okay, Rina Shah, we will have to leave it there, but great to get your analysis as always. Thank you.